Rear-wheel drive, rear-mounted engine, two-seater. Sounds like a sports car? It's a Smart.
Smart's history dates back to the late 1980s. This is when Nicolas Hayek, head of SMH, a Swiss company making Swatch watches, came up with a plan to build a small lifestyle car with personalization options, sort of like a Swatch. It took almost a decade for the idea to transform into a car because several car manufacturers turned down Hayek's proposal. Finally, in 1998, first Smart, made in cooperation with Daimler, hit the market. Originally, the car was just 2.5 meters long, which allowed for perpendicular parking of several Smarts in a single parallel parking spot. As it turned out, this sort of parking is illegal in some places. The second generation was 20 centimeters longer, which meant a sensible boot. It was available as a cabriolet and recently also with an electric drivetrain. A four-seater was briefly in production, but it was quickly dropped due to poor sales.
Third generation is available in Fortwo and forfour version from the start. The latter is closely related to the new Renault Twingo, but even in the Fortwo we'll find many elements from Renault. I'll get to that in a moment.
Length of the new Smart remained unchanged and it is around 270 centimeters, but at 166 centimeters the car is wider. The new Smart has more round and smooth shapes compared to its predecessor, and there are some similarities to the four-vision concept, like the grille here.
Speaking of the grille, also here there are two latches like in a Renault Twingo, so you can open the bonnet, but unlike in a Twingo, here it just hangs down, giving you better access to all the fluids and the battery.
Engine is in the back. Just like in Renault Twingo, access is difficult, and even checking the oil level requires removing boot lining and unscrewing the cover. You have two 3-cylinder petrol engines to choose from, a 1-liter naturally aspirated or a 900cc turbo. Both are sourced from Renault. At first glance, the boot may not look big, but get rid of the optional boot cover and you get 190 liters up to the window level and 350 all the way up to the roof. 350 liters is what compact hatchbacks offer these days, of course without unfolding back seats. For example, Toyota Auris has a 360-liter boot, Volkswagen Golf has 380 and Peugeot 308 has 400 liters.
Just like in the second generation Smart, also in the third generation Smart, tailgate has a storage compartment for your emergency kit, emergency jacket, that sort of stuff. Now, I'm not surprised that in a car this small there is no spare tire, but there is no repair kit. It turns out it's an option. It costs €100. An adult can sit on the tailgate. An adult or two kids. I don't know what two kids are going to be doing in a Smart though, because an adult is supposed to drive and two kids are not going to fit in there. Now, when you're closing the tailgate, you usually catch something that's sticking out to close it. And when you do that, this happens.
The cockpit looks fun and modern. There is plenty of adjustment in the seat, so even a 2-meter tall driver will fit. I checked. I was afraid Smart and Renault will copy the cockpit design of one of the models and the cars will differ mainly by the badge on the bonnet. Fortunately, the cockpits are different, although many elements in the Smart obviously come from Renault. Depending on your needs and budget, you can get a TomTom sat-nav with real traffic information, a locking glove box or climate control. I like the drawer in the center console, but be careful with the orange upholstery because although it looks great at first, it will pick up dirt or dye from clothes.
And where's that cool round key that Smart cars used to have? Yep, that's another Renault part. So, first impressions. The Smart is loud, and not just from the inside, but also from the outside. The engine sounds like it would rather go its own way. The second problem is the optional sport suspension package. The suspension is stiffer and lowered by 10 millimeters. Here I would like to apologize to all car manufacturers whose cars are accused of having uncomfortable suspension. Sport suspension in the Smart is unbearable if the roads are only less than perfect. Short wheelbase does not help, that's for sure. Now, interestingly enough, the Twingo I drove a couple of months ago was rather comfortable, even too soft in some cases, but it was very good on bumpy roads. I could take sort of a road through the forest, and it would cope nicely, especially that it has short overhangs like this car. So don't tick the sport suspension on the list, options list. No, no, no. The third problem is the falling roofline, which means that I can see the road immediately behind the car, but not further. To see the car that's behind me right now, 300-400 meters, I can see it in the side mirrors, and if I lean like this, I can see it far in the back, but I can also see half of the roof, which is filling up the rear view mirror, so that's useless. If I were any taller, I would see the road maybe a couple of meters behind the car. That's useless. And by the way, tall people will fit here, or I can pump the seat up. And then I don't see anything. Is there anything I like about the Smart, you might ask? Sure, I love the whole idea. I'm just not sure about the execution in case of the Smart. I mean, most of the time we drive alone, so a two-seater is a viable option, right? And I love the 7-meter turning circle. Brilliant. What else? If not for the hard suspension, the car is relatively fun to drive. It's easy to park, the visibility is good, minus the rear view mirror, and the car is underpowered, so no quick lane changes when something fast is approaching. Oh yeah, but you would have to see that first in the rear view mirror, right? And then there's the fuel consumption. You expect a 3-banger 1-liter engine will do the less than 5 liters per 100 kilometers in the urban cycle and less than 4 liters in extra-urban cycle, like the manufacturer promises, right? You'd expect that. Well, I managed about 7 and 6 respectively. Should you want to take this car somewhere further, like on a motorway, just remember to keep it below 120 kph. The Smart will eventually go faster, but it's generally unpleasant. There's a lot of wind noise and, it's not a car to drive that fast. You may also want to go for the optional bigger petrol tank that's 35 instead of 28 liters. It increases your range by about 100 clicks and it costs just 50 euros.
I'm not sure I'd go for the panoramic roof, as it's either too hot or too snowy to enjoy it. And I would like a dedicated phone button on the steering wheel. Instead, I have to look for it on the center display. Prices of the new Smart start at 10,300 euros for a 60 horsepower version. A 71 horsepower model like this one starts at 10,900, and a turbo will take you close to 11,800. I'd probably go for the 71 horsepower model and spend the 900 euros on options. This example with extra kit costs almost 17 grand, and that's the biggest problem I have with the Smart.
I get it, style costs money and so does packing a lot of technology in a small car. But since the second generation debuted in 2007, the Smart did not change significantly in terms of quality or efficiency. It did not take the city car concept a step further. Instead, it shares a lot of components with Renault, which in my opinion should make both cars significantly cheaper. And they're not. And what do you think about small city cars? Let me know in the comments below. Also subscribe to my channel and share and rate my videos. New episodes every Friday. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.